All right, game 2 of Group B of the January Ceres tournament. Welcome along. In this game, we have twodback, Revolting Peasant 1, veriestVarlet, and Game Slayer. 2 of these players won their round 1 game, twodback and Game Slayer. Game Slayer in double quick time. So we'll see what we have here. Alongside me in the proverbial commentary box is Philothanic.
Yes, so this map has a better scavenger spot than the last map we saw. There are potentially two start a high and a medium next to each other, a high and a medium next to each other, near right to a little bit north of Washington by that crater.
Yeah.
And water and aluminum.
There's aluminum there too, and water, and Game Slayer takes that with 8,000 of debt. That is an interesting found, and it'll be interesting to see. And another scavenger as well, veriestVarlet deciding that the other carbon is good enough for them.
So the carbon is both the same for both founding locations. What Varlet did is she blocked off potentially the water that Game Slayer was thinking of going into.
So why did Game Slayer take the aluminum that was all the way out there when there's one just to the south of him?
Probably because he didn't see it.
Yeah, I think so. Just going to call you out on that, Game Slayer. Revolt Peasant is doing something really interesting I want to mention quickly. He's gone Power Robot, which might be interesting. It's a power colony, power started high. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's going to work out. He's going to get the silicon just next to him. I wonder if he's going to be able to afford that second solar panel. He also bought a claim, which is an interesting move as well. It's not something you normally see. He's trying to afford the second solar panel now.
Right. Now that claim, I'm not so thrilled about it. I'd rather see both solar panels go up immediately.
Yeah, me
Start
too.
earning that income, especially you want to earn. Nightfall comes way earlier on Ceres than it does on Mars. You want to earn that income as fast as you can. Instead, he's moving into. Well, he's finally got a second solar panel up, moving into a metal mine.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's you can't really go sort of full power robot on Ceres. The solar panels are nerfed by the fact that, well, they're nerfed in terms of production, and they're also nerfed by the fact that the day cycle isn't quite as long relative to the whole day, as it were.
Right, it's about 56% daytime on Ceres versus 67 or whatever on Mars, if I'm remembering the info correctly.
Yeah.
Both Game Slayer and veriestVarlet and twodback all went to level 2 at roughly the same time, twodback lagging just a little bit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Game Slayer in glass, which is interesting. He doesn't have any silicon to support that, and in fact, veriestVarlet does have some silicon. So he's going to be buying that silicon from veriestVarlet to produce the glass. Glass is profitable, though, so that might work out. They're making 80 a second at the moment. That's going to propel him to level 3, I think, quite quickly. Very soon indeed, in fact.
Yeah, veriestVarlet instead choosing to go into a single nuclear reactor and a silicon, which he is selling down. This is a very black magic move right here. I'm not sure I particularly agree with it, simply because the scavenger doesn't get the robot advantage of that power boosting that water up. So there's no advantages here. It's all single tiles next to each other.
Oh, and we missed the fact that Revolting Peasant was essentially knocked out of the game by a single power surge. I'm just trying to see who that was. It was Game Slayer. So yeah, no power robot this time. You gotta protect those solar panels. And,
protecting the solar panel is more important than getting that extra claim.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. So Revolting Peasant still not HQ2. He's not. Is he likely to get it in the near future? Probably not. He's got the silicon for income. He's really, really struggling.
No, he's currently paying off debt instead of making money from his solar panels. Both Game Slayer, as we suspected, hit level 3 first. veriestVarlet has come up behind very shortly. We currently have a race between our two scavenger players, with twodback trying to play a third wheel over here in a robot, but not keeping up with the pace.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? We're gonna see a scavenger face-off here on Ceres, and I think that's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. Certainly, scavenger I think is the weakest faction on Ceres. I'm not sure it's as weak, perhaps, as the sort of general perception was.
Scavenger is weak in a large part because many of the maps don't have a lot of carbon. I may or may not have put my thumb down on the scale to have some more carbon than normal.
Well, I think this map certainly has an unusual amount of carbon.
I'll leave that for the viewers to decide.
So, Revolting Peasant does get to HQ2 on Sol 5, which isn't really what you want to be doing.
Put some 2 HQs behind Gameslayer.
Yeah, Gameslayer now 4. He's going to get the water that's just next to him. Another power surge comes down from Gameslayer, this time on veriestVarlet's power. So that'll be shut down for a while. The water is interesting, though, because life support is getting up there. It started quite low, but it is climbing. You can see food at 120, fuel also at 120, and oxygen pretty profitable as well, partly because of those glass kilns from Gameslayer.
Yes. I'd like to see... What do we have? veriestVarlet could be earning, well, not very much on her electrolysis reactors, but less on her chemical refineries single tile, so I would have preferred to see some of those electrolysis reactors down.
Yeah, these chems really aren't good, are they?
The chems are earning 22 with the adjacency bonus, but by themselves would be earning negative 26.
Oh dear, yeah.
And the electrolysis would be earning plus 6 now, it just got it positive, so they'd be earning maybe 30, 40 instead.
Something like that. veriestVarlet does get to 4 though, so he's not too far behind Gameslayer. Gameslayer and a little bit more dead as well, as we've come to expect from Gameslayer down the years.
To be fair, veriestVarlet now making a transition. At the time, they only had 1 high turned medium water tile to support their 3 nukes and what would have been 2 reactors, so it may not have been as bad of a decision as we first had thought, but I still not entirely huge fan about it. twodback is still lagging behind a little bit.
Yeah, he is. He has a lot of uranium. He needs to sell down some of that uranium. In fact, he can upgrade immediately. And in fact, he can anyway. But this uranium is very profitable.
Right.
And he's just got the stockpile. Need to sell that down.
twodback identifying that some power adjacency boosted uranium would give them a nice profit building those 2
yeah, they're boosting each other. This is something to note as well. We've got uranium feeds into power, and power obviously feeds into the uranium mine, so they're both boosting each other, these tiles, the nuclear plant and the metal mine. So that's a cute little trick.
Yeah, normally
you'll see from robots on Ceres.
Normally you wouldn't like to see someone build their steel mills next to the iron mines like this, but this is one time where it's an exception to that little rule of thumb.
Is making power money, so is veriestVarlet. Power is dying a little bit at least. And no one's got into a pattern lab this game, which is really interesting, because this seems like a game. I mean, there's not too much, but there would be a lot of value for twodback in liquid batteries here. I wonder if we're going to see something like that.
Yes, liquid batteries for twodback might not be a bad idea. There's really no debt to go in, no debt to worry about as we would speak. Both of our scavenger players do have aluminum coming in, so transparent aluminum might be something that you would have gotten earlier, maybe HQ4, so you could take advantage of it.
Revolting Peasant just upgrades to HQ3. It's very sad. The failed power robot is one of the saddest things in all of Offworld Trading Company.
So twodback has an interesting decision here to make. He's sitting on 111k in cash. Does he use that cash and try to buy out Revolting Peasant instead of going for the upgrade and get a stock boost, or does he go for the upgrade?
Yeah, it is an interesting decision. Revolting Peasant, I think, unlike the last game, he's not going to be a very profitable subsidiary. Not much earnings potential. HQ3, this is an interesting auction as well. Thinking Machines on Ceres, perhaps not quite as strong as it is on Mars, but still, it'll be worth getting for somebody. twodback picks it up for 18. But yeah, Revolting Peasant not going to be a hugely profitable subsidiary, certainly not in the short term. and probably only marginally in the long term. So instead, twodback decides to go to level 5 instead. I'm just checking to see if he's going to be punished for that potentially.
No.
But no, I don't think so.
Only if Varlet and Gameslayer joined up with each other, and Varlet has no reason to help Gameslayer win the game in that regard.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you need to check for when going to HQ5.
Yes, earlier we had said that twodback was the third wheel trying to catch up, well, getting to level 5 before veriestVarlet. He has caught up. And now
I think he definitely has caught up.
3-player race here.
Yeah.
Gameslayer's
twodback
still in the driver's seat, but does have that C levels of debt, keeping his stock a little bit lower than he perhaps likes. So
yeah, and all of these carbons are low now. And again, this is really interesting. So off-worlds are actually a factor in this game as well, potentially. Again, we don't often see it on Ceres because prices on-world get so high. But potentially, off-world is an option. Oxygen is a 30k launch at the moment, which is pretty good.
30k launch, 100k to build the off-world for Varlet, assuming the same, 140k for Gameslayer.
Yeah, it's not terrible, is it?
And twodback 140k also. This is, if you're going for an off-world, this is where you pick up the transparent aluminum patent. So that way you pay aluminum instead of glass, a lot cheaper. Gameslayer going aggressive against veriestVarlet.
Yeah, he's hacking glass, which he just made a bunch of money from. And yeah, he does have the money to finish this. And veriestVarlet, I don't think, has the money to defend themselves.
No. She has enough to buy 2 pips, and then Gameslayer currently has enough cash on hand to finish it. If I'm twodback right now, twodback needs to buy into Gameslayer just to have a chance at winning this game.
Yep, I think that's fair. He needs to stop this this buy from going uncontested, and he does exactly that. So he might have to defend himself here, so Gameslayer.
The good thing for Gameslayer is twodback does not have enough to buy out Gameslayer, but what twodback does have enough is to make it very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and he's got earnings potential as well. He's making money from power. He's also got a pleasure dome down. He's making quite a bit of money from that. He's got his food and everything else that he's making money with.
So right now both players need to go to 2. Gameslayer has 50k in cash. However, twodback has
really close.
Full access to the black market.
It's really close.
A cheap power surge. He should shut down Gameslayer and D-Det, not able to respond.
He's 10k down. twodback is almost there.
Almost has it.
This is the game right here. If
This
twodback
is the
gets this, he
game.
wins the game.
No.
Oh, Gameslayer defends himself. Wow.
twodback. I'm gonna say twodback should have shut down the glass or the food. Maybe he did try with that freeze that I missed. I'm not sure if he did that.
Yeah, maybe. Or even like a slowdown strike would have been good at 2k or something like that. I don't know. And he also had a water optimization that was going up that he could potentially have cancelled for a little bit of extra cash.
Yes, any and all of those would have easily won him the game. Now, where twodback has the advantage right now is twodback's stock is the same price as Gameslayer's, despite Gameslayer owning a few more pips than veriestVarlet, and twodback has all of them already purchased.
Yeah, he does. He's got a big advantage, actually, twodback, and I hadn't realized this until just now, until you mentioned it, but yeah, he does, and Gameslayer's level of debt is now going to be a problem for him as well. He's solidly in that D level of debt, and he needs to get down to 144,000 of debt if he wants to be out of that D level of debt. So he's going to keep taking huge interest ticks, and he's not going to be able to have access to that black market at all as a scavenger player, which is really, really painful. So I think twodback might be able, he's got the earnings potential, I think, to potentially get through this. He's almost half of the way there, in fact.
He is almost half of the way there. veriestVarlet is starting to earn 600k, almost 600 a second for Gameslayer, which is not insubstantial. Not a huge amount, but nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah,
and meanwhile,
absolutely.
Gameslayer is getting some help from Revolting Peasant, who had got to HQ4 and is now launching black market attacks against twodback.
Not much help, though.
No,
not much help.
Not enough. I do think twodback should have this game. It was a valiant effort by Gameslayer. Gameslayer, realizing that he had to buy somebody before his debt caught up to him, made the buy, but unfortunately, on Ceres, that high debt style doesn't necessarily work as well because while the interest ticks are lower, you get compounding interest more often.
Yeah.
So with the same amount of in-game time in Ceres, if you start with the same amount of debt as on Mars, you will earn more interest debt than you would on Mars.
And he has actually paid off some of that debt as well, so he's going to get a little bit of a boost to his stock price, but he spent about $100,000 doing that. And that's money that really needed to go into trying to fight back against twodback.
Twodback is slow down striking Gameslayer right now, just to make sure that there's no way that Gameslayer could come back. I don't think it was an issue beforehand, but it definitely won't be an issue now. All the players get to pause their breaths while they look at this extra claim auction, which is somewhere that I can't find.
It's a extra claim rather than an extra tile.
Oh, that's why.
But it's pretty inconsequential in any case.
I did not have time to make myself some coffee before this tournament.
gotta make coffee before tournaments. I've got some coffee ready to go.
That's the problem when you cast and do the administration of the tournament.
Yeah, it's much harder than just casting. Us casters have it much easier.
Anyway, enough about me and back to the game. twodback will have this any moment.
He's 30k short, which isn't very much. He's selling everything down, trying to get there. He is being shut down a little bit.
Now, Gameslayer is doing exactly the right moves for himself. He has that really fast win in the previous game. So the longer he can draw this out, the better he will do for himself on tiebreakers. He's paying down his debt, buying into veriestVarlet fully just to make his stock price increase and make it that much. Just make it drag out a little bit.
I don't know, and twodback's really struggling to get to this. Gameslayer's been selling down his debt, or been paying down his debt as well. So he's down at 110k now.
Okay, twodback's buying a revolting peasant, which...
Not sure about that. I guess just to get his stock.
Fastest way to win this game. Revolting Peasant only has 30k.
Yeah, it's the safest way, potentially.
It is the safest way.
I don't know. I'm not even sure it's the safest way.
Fastest way. Yeah, I'd agree.
So,
Revolting Peasant only has 11k. Revolting Peasant is not going to do...
Yeah, he's not a factor in this game.
Unfortunately, wasn't a factor since Gameslayer made him a unfactor.
Yeah, we said that power surge at HQ1 just lost him the game.
Selling out of Gameslayer to buy Revolting Peasant is an absolute mistake. I'm not going to sugarcoat
I think it is too. I mean, he might be okay, but Revolting Peasant isn't going to be very profitable, even as a subsidiary now. And this was part of the argument against buying him earlier on. Mm-hmm. But like, he's not going to be very profitable even now. He's HQ4. At some point, he's going to upgrade to HQ5. At which point, he doesn't get any money at all.
Now, I don't know if Gameslayer will be able to win this, but if he could come back and win this game, the buy on Revolting Peasant would be why.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
I don't think it will happen at this point, but what wasn't a possibility is now plausible.
Yeah, these prices, by the way, I mean, these are Mars prices right here. They have been kept in check. And we said the colony in the last game was sort of unusually big.
Yes, this one's normal sized.
I think this one's unusually small. I think size 9 at this point in the game. You'd expect it to be a little bit bigger than that. The Pleasure Dome being mutinied away by Gameslayer from twodback, so that's going to be a nice little earner for him for a while. Mutiny's getting up to 20k now on the black market, but twodback does have a huge lead. Gameslayer in the Offworld, and we said this again, the Offworld prices are a factor in this game, and Gameslayer building one just to show that.
It did cost 140-ish K or so, maybe a little bit less depending on how much the prices were driven up by the construction. I didn't get the cost.
Yeah, I think that's okay though. I mean, it's that means it's 3 launches, which is totally fine. for an Offworld. I think he's probably going to get those 3 launches.
It is his only chance.
Yeah.
Now, twodback is selling out of himself to get the extra cash to buy into GameSlayer. I agree with this move.
Yeah, and I think that will basically end the game. Selling 4 of his own stock will be 250-ish thousand, something like that, which is about what he needs.
Yes.
He'll still be a tiny little bit short.
Which is the factor that we forgot to mention when we were saying that his buying in Revolting Peasant gave him a potential in. He could have just sold it out and won it. Maybe not right then and there, but not a little bit longer.
And he's not committing to, having sold 1 of his stock, he's not committing to selling all of them. This is an indecisive end game from twodback. I don't think it's going to matter.
No, the only place it should matter is potential tiebreakers in the final seeding of the tournament.
Yeah, another shutdown from GameSlayer onto twodback's production, his steal this time. That's not going to be too impactful because twodback has a bunch of iron coming in, and iron's basically almost as profitable as steel at this point.
So unlike last game, well, while we're just waiting for this slow stock battle to happen, GameSlayer has a decent amount of optimizations. twodback also has a decent amount of optimizations. Varlet never had any way to get into them, and Revolting Peasant has a few. Also, that makes a little bit more sense in this game because the prices were not as high, but there's still a decent amount of optimizations, which is something I like to see on Ceres.
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate amount of optimizations for both of twodback and GameSlayer. So twodback takes the game, so he's on 2 wins now for this tournament. GameSlayer on just the 1 from the round 1 game, but he does have the fastest win because this one wasn't wrapped up until Sol 21.
And there are still 2 more chances for GameSlayer to get that victory.
Yep, there certainly are. And yeah, looking at one thing to say, twodback had the Pleasure Dome, and I've seen this a couple of times from twodback with that Pleasure Dome, sort of uncontested, and it wasn't an amazing Pleasure Dome. Again, there were a couple of scavengers on the map, which makes it okay.
100K
a couple of robots.
From that Pleasure Dome, nothing to sneeze at.
That's solid. Yeah, absolutely, solid. It's solid. Just like solid income through the game that I think pushed him through. But yeah, I think the buy from GameSlayer might have been, I don't know whether to call it a mistake, the buy on veriestVarlet, because I think he did have to make a move somewhere. But the fact that veriestVarlet did make him a little bit of money, but not a huge amount of money, and the fact that he was left really without any income stream then to defend against twodback was a big problem for him.
Yes, and I'd just like to direct your attention, as the players have mentioned, to veriestVarlet's sub-AI's insane amount of solar panels.
Oh dear.
GameSlayer did earn 306k dividend revenue on that buy, so the buy did more than pay for itself, plus made it harder for twodback to buy GameSlayer out. At that point, GameSlayer didn't really have a choice. Buying a Revolting Peasant wasn't good enough.
I mean, the thing that it did was it left him vulnerable to twodback just jumping in there, which is what needed to happen and what you called at the time. twodback needs to go into GameSlayer now, otherwise he just loses. But the fact that he could so cheaply, I think, made a big difference.
Yes, GameSlayer's strategy was set in stone the moment he decided not to go into power on HQ3 with a power colony. There wasn't any way of getting around it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and yeah, we'll just say a little bit about Revolting Peasant. We touched on it the early game. It was a bold move, going for those solar panels. I think buying the claim was the fatal mistake that he made. That should have been a goon instead. You need to protect those solar panels because they are your only prospect for income, and if they get shut down, you literally lose the game, which is what happened. Because GameSlayer saw that and was like, nope. That's one of the 4 players of this game just completely knocked out because he was so far behind when that freeze wore off.
GameSlayer mentioning in chat another reason why twodback did well this game. Just to point it out quickly, twodback purchased 3 claims for 13k.
Yeah.
Versus GameSlayer's 1 claim for 14k. So,
yeah,
there also played a very sizable role.
Yeah, claims especially good on Ceres again because on-world prices are so high they just make you money.
On-world prices are usually high, and you need more of them as your inputs diminish.